just get started like this. So welcome and to our April meeting. Let's see, I think we can get started. We'll go into roll call in just a second. And do we know if Brian, isn't he going to be here? Or
I haven't seen him, but I didn't get a message saying that he wouldn't be here.
yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, so as far as announcements, okay, so we can go into our roll call to get started. Thank you.
Speaking of, I'll wait just a second for him.
Guys need some time.
Okay. Commissioner Abbott?
Here.
Commissioner Chang Frank? Here. Commissioner Chin?
Here.
Commissioner Kent?
Here.
Commissioner Martin?
Here.
Commissioner OG?
Here.
And Chair Sainberg.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamira. I'm going to go now into a land acknowledgement. The City of Albany recognizes that we occupy the land originally protected by the Confederated Villages of Lishan. We acknowledge the genocide that took place on these lands and must make strides to repay the moral debt that is owed to this indigenous people, specifically the Ohlone tribe. We thank them for their contributions, which have transformed our community and will continue to bring forth growth and unity. The City of Albany commits to sustaining ongoing relationships with the tribe and together build a better future for all that now make this their home. I'm going to go now into the approval of minutes for March 14th, 2024. We have a motion to approve the minutes.
It doesn't always have to be me, but I will. Okay, I'll go ahead and move that we approve the minutes.
Actually, I should abstain because it looks like I was absent for part of the meeting, so.
I'll second it then.
Thank you, Jeremy.
By the way, I would just want to make a note on like Robert's rules as we go a little bit. So just quick reminder, after we do second, there always should be opportunity to discuss. No discussion, then we can go to the vote. So is there any discussion on the minutes? Okay, we're ready for a vote. Thank you.
No problem. Commissioner Abbott?
Yes.
Commissioner Chang Frank?
Abstain.
Commissioner Chin?
Yes.
Commissioner Kent?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner OG?
Yes.
And Chair Sainberg.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go now into public comment. Is there any public comments, either online?
No hands are raised online.
Okay. And folks, everyone here's from the city, I imagine. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you. We'll go now to announcements. So are there any announcements we'll start with commissioners, from commissioners?
I would mention Sunday the 21st is Spring on Solano, a little street festival we do. It's one of the quarterly events they're going to do this year. And I'll also just mention Move and Groove is this Sunday at Memorial Park.
And that started out as an sugar sweet beverage activity, right? And has gone other ways, or launched itself off, I guess. All right. I'm just checking my list. Anything else in the meantime?
Any other commissioners? If not, I can do my announcement. Oh, all right.
Yeah, go ahead. If I have anything, I can come back.
Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So, we have the Expo, Albany Community Expo. It's almost here. The Community Center will host the 3rd annual Albany Community Expo. It's Saturday, April 27th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And I'm just going to click on this link. If you would like to save this link, it is an interactive website, so that way you can go on there and look at all the stuff, but I'm going to click on it so that way we can, actually, gotta stop it first. So I can click on it. There we go. Now we're gonna go back to share my screen. There we go. So, as I was saying, it is an interactive website. This year's expo will host over 50 community-based programs or organizations. Here's a list of those. All the city departments showcasing their programs and services to the community. There will be food trucks with sweet, savory options, live entertainment, presentations on topics that matter, a kids zone, and free bike parking. And you can see the entire event in detail on this website that I'm currently on. For more information or for community organizations that would like to apply for a table, contact the Recreation and Community Services Department at 510-524-9283. And that's my only announcement.
Okay, I figured out mine, which is that on Monday, there's going to be a special city council meeting at 6 p.m. They'll be looking at our recommendations alongside other commission recommendations for the use of the sugar sweetened beverage tax. And there will be an opportunity to public comment, and commissioners are welcome to do that, as well as members of the public. So I do plan to be there, and note that it starts at 6, not 7, which is when their regular meeting starts. All right. That concludes our announcements. I think we'll move right along into our presentations. So our first presentation is the recreation program update. So Danielle is here, Danielle Pitchford and Sid Schoenfeld. And so thanks for being here with us.
Look at this. I don't even need a step stool. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Sid Schoenfeld, and I'm the director of the Recreation and Community Services Department. And really, thank you for having us at your meeting tonight. Our department is committed to providing the highest quality programs and services to our community. Tonight, you'll be receiving a presentation on the recreation side of our programming. Our recreation division provides opportunities for everyone of all ages to participate in classes, programs, special events, and the use of recreation facilities both indoor and outdoor. The Community Services Division oversees programs to assist residents navigate city and community services systems to needed information and services. We oversee programs like Albany Cares, Albany Project Hope, the Rent Review Program, tax exemptions and renter rebates, and the ARPA Grocery Friendship Club Subsidy and Rental Debt Relief Programs. Before I bring our Recreation and Community Services Manager up here, Danielle Pitchford, to talk about all of those programs, I'd like to introduce a couple of our other staff members that are here this evening. Our Friendship Club Program Supervisor, Jordan Hall. Hi, Jordan. And I think you've met before. She's presented here before. Our Customer Service, Facility, and Contract Class Supervisor, Joy White. Thank you both for being here tonight. And now, we're going to give Danielle an opportunity to talk about her division, and that is the Recreation Division of the Recreation and Community Services Department.
Hello. Hello, commissioners. Thank you for having us here tonight. We're looking forward to talking to you about the recreation side of the Recreation and Community Services Department. Customer service is at the heart of what we do. We have 2 customer service counters open Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 5 p.m. We can support constituents that come in with registration of our programs, receiving services, and answering questions. The image above is our registration platform. It allows individuals to register for our various recreation opportunities online. Now I will talk to you about the recreation. Oh, hold on. Wrong page. Oh, hold on. Mayday. Jamira, I might need to take yours. Okay, back to this, Friendship Club. Friendship Club is our after-school program that operates Monday through Friday from 1 to 6 p.m. It's August through June. This is our in-house program. We staff it, develop, implement, facilitate, and coordinate everything. The curriculum is open-ended, child-directed, offering children endless opportunities to engage in art, science, engineering, tinkering, dramatic play, and a lot of time outdoors in our parks. We value the lifelong relationships we build with the families, and we are at capacity with 59 children enrolled. When Friendship Club is not in session, we have camps. We offer seasonal camps and summer camps. The curriculum and activities are developed similar to the philosophy of Friendship Club, so children can attend for a week or all summer long. These camps run from 9 to 4 p.m. After doing some surveys, we heard from families that they wanted to extend the camp day, so we now are offering from 8 to 9 a.m. extended care and from 4 to 5, so they can really attend all day. We had 469 children enrolled in our last summer. The Junior Counselor Program offers tweens and teens from 6th to 10th grade the opportunity to give back to their community, gain valuable leadership experience, and be a mentor to younger children. It also allows those children who have spent years in our program the opportunity to stay connected. They can register during the school year for fall, winter, or spring seasons or sessions, or they can register weekly during the summer. The program launched 3 years ago, and it continues to grow. Now I'll talk to you about our recreation programs. When I refer to recreation programs, I'm speaking about classes for all ages. We break up our programs into 3 seasons, which align with our activity guides, which I gave you all a copy of our summer guides. Activity guides are booklets that list out our city services and offerings. There's fall and winter spring guides that include city news and recreation programs. And then our summer emphasizes our summer camps, recreational programs, and summer events. Our recreation programs encompass contract classes and adult sports. Contract classes are run by our independent contractors. Independent contractors are experts and teachers who come to us with fully developed programs. We then offer them the space and registration and marketing, and then they host their programs with us. We have numerous programs at our various facilities that include parent-child, youth, and adult. Topics vary every season. We also have some excellent adult sports leagues that include softball, soccer, and pickleball ladder league. Not sure if any of you have been to the senior center, but it is very busy. This place is a home away from home for so many. It allows seniors to participate in various ways, whether it be socials, classes, or travel troupe. Socials offer an affordable drop-in class that engages their audience. Contract classes promote physical activity and more in-depth enrichment programming. Travel troupe is a great way for seniors participating to get together, socialize, and explore popular destinations near and far. We brought back extended travel and had 15 seniors return from a 10-day Portugal trip. Senior services are a critical component of what we offer at the Senior Center. These services are partnered with Mercy Brown Bag Biweekly Groceries, Albany Tri-City Cafe, which provide well-balanced daily lunches, Meals on Wheels 7-day-a-week prepared dinners, and paratransit programs funded by Measure BB. Not only do we offer what you see listed on the slide, but connect seniors to other resources through the Community Services Division. Our goal for events is to build community. New this year, we have Movie in the Park. We have Bohem Out of the Box, which we are partnering with San Francisco Opera. And Concert in the Parks are back to Wednesday nights. We also are supporting community organizers in planning safe and successful events such as Move and Groove, which was mentioned, that's happening this Sunday, and Albany Triathlon, just to name a few. I wanted to start out by saying thank you to the Public Works Department, who works so hard to maintain all of our parks. Now we'll cover the recreation in our parks. This involves coordinating reservations and daily usage. So first off, picnic areas are reservable at 3 of our parks, Ocean View, Memorial, and Terrace. And when there are no reservations, they are available on a first-come, first-served basis. Our fields, located at Ocean View and Memorial, are available for rent, and applications are accepted in the fall, winter, spring, and summer. Reservation schedules are posted at the dugouts. AUSD schools are using our fields Monday through Friday from 8 to 3 p.m., and we also provide their sports teams with space. There are numerous other teams that use our spaces year-round. Some include St. Mary's Softball, Albany Little League, our adults sports team leagues, and our very own contract classes. There are also tennis courts at 3 of our parks, Terrace, Ocean View, and Memorial. You can reserve courts, or they are on a first-come, first-served basis. We also host teams at these tennis courts, such as St. Mary's and Albany High School's JV and varsity. We offer free lights for anyone who is interested in playing at night. There is also a pilot pop-up volleyball program currently at Memorial Park. Lastly, we are looking forward to pickleball courts being installed at Ocean View Park, and we will work with Public Works on making reservations available once the construction is done. Facilities. Okay, Albany Senior Center and Community Center have multiple facilities that are available for rent. Applications are accepted up to a year in advance to the date of your reservation. Our facilities are booked for private rentals, city recreational programs, events, contract classes, lunch services, trainings, workshops, meetings, and testing. We also offer our facilities to nonprofit organizations, and we host groups such as AUSD, American Red Cross, Friends of Albany Library, and Alameda County. Thank you. And I just want to open it up to any questions.
Are there any questions from commissioners?
Yeah, I had a couple. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Overview, there's so much going on, and it is hard to keep up, and it's great to have that here at a public meeting. I had 2 questions. One was, the size of the booklet is a lot smaller than what it used to be.
Right.
Does that mean that there's fewer offerings, or the fonts are smaller, or there's less?
So interesting.
else?
The font has actually gotten a lot bigger.
Oh.
But what used to happen is we used to have city news in all the guides, and we've kind of now shifted to having the city news with the programming only in the fall and winter, spring, and now summer is really based on the programs that we are offering.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then I think one of the slides mentioned of the adult sports said pickleball, new.
Wait.
I think for a summer sport, is that right?
Actually, when I said new, it's actually been going on for about a year now, the Pickleball Ladder League. That's actually being held at not Ocean View, I'm so sorry, at Albany High School gym indoors on
okay.
Sundays. Then we also have a drop-in program that's just pickleball drop-in. That's at Ocean View, and that's been going on for quite a while, too. The Ladder League is the new part of it.
Okay. So my follow-up question was going to be, does the programming take into account the construction that's supposed to happen soon at Ocean View Park? And it sounds like the Ladder League's at the high school, so no impact for them, and we're all eagerly awaiting the upgraded pickleball courts.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, thanks.
I had a question.
Sure.
First, thank you. My daughter, part of the friendship club in the summertime, so
Nice.
guys, thank you, Jordan. You guys do a phenomenal job. So I have a question. I was just curious.
Sure.
It said 59 kids. Is that max capacity?
Yeah, that is max capacity. If you've been to those spaces, they're 2 classroom spaces. Last year, we actually were at 53, and then after a lot of consideration and thought, we decided that we could expand it a little bit more to accommodate those children that were needing some spots. So we did, but we are now, if you've been in that space, it is full. So that's where we're at.
is there some kind of vision plan that seem to expand it? Or, just curious.
Of course, we would like to expand all of our programs. No, nothing currently right now, but we are aware that there is a need within Albany for after-school programs, or, especially after the pandemic, there was some shifting that happened with the programs that existed within the area.
And Friendship Club is at Ocean View, is that right?
It is, yeah, 900 Buchanan.
And so I've been on the commission for 12 years now, and it's gone, Friendship Club's gone up and down, and it's had 2 locations at once and all this, and I don't know if there's any, I know that there's a lot of demand, and I don't know if it's resources holding back or if it's just the physical space. It sounds like it's the physical space.
Yeah, the wonderful part about Ocean View is it has a park attached to it, and so when it comes to programming with youth, you really want to have an indoor and outdoor space. It makes it the best. So as for another facility space, that's it for now. And we used to have Memorial Park building, but that's now being leased to KSS.
Right. And then I also saw the Mercy Brown Bag Program had 50 participants. That sounds like that's a maximum too. Is that right, or is it that's just where you are?
Yeah, well, actually,
Somebody just said, I think it's about 50.
I'm going to let Sid, he knows more about the numbers there.
Yeah, we run that program for the Mercy program and the Mercy Retirement Center, and they really set the cap for us.
Okay.
We probably could do more within our space, but they're the ones that set the limits.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions, thanks.
I'm wondering just how your, classes are doing in general. Are you getting the numbers that, aside from Friendship Club, for all these classes? I haven't had the opportunity to go to any of these, so are they filling up? Do you feel like there's a need for more awareness about the classes?
I think we're always trying to target new audience, and I think that post-pandemic, we've just kind of been building back the programs that and making awareness of what we have available. I think with contract classes, it really needs to fit into individual schedules, and so it's just, we have a lot of offerings, and we constantly are evaluating and coming up with new ideas and getting new contractors in. It's hard to say if we're hitting our numbers. There is a min and max, if you can see on that we can run a program at. A lot of our adult physical programs like yoga and Pilates, and they're really successful in their running, and we have really some consistent programs. Youth programming, we have a lot of after-school programs within this area, so then there's usually some that want to come to the Lego after school, or kids carpentry is really popular. They've been around for, I think, forever. So
Maybe along those lines, and selfishly, but also maybe it's kind of silly, I see the senior classes and I'm like, those all sound so fun. Is there not an opportunity? And there's just such a transient place where people don't know a lot of people, and we, may be here for a couple years, but also that you might not have a community to plug into. So is there, I don't know, it's a community services, so has there ever been a thought around expanding, those classes?
yeah, we're always interested in expanding, and we're always open to having new contractors. Daisy Madera and Joy White actually are the ones that you could send emails to, but literally if you sent us an email and said, we have an idea, we really look at it and we evaluate it and we see if it can fit into our facility spaces and schedules. And, it's interesting because even when you look at this guide, you can see it, but our facilities are jam-packed. And it's Monday through Sunday, so not only are these classes, but now we're hosting other rentals that are happening, and monthly meetings for certain nonprofit organizations. So there's also sometimes a capacity of how many classes we can have just based on the scheduling and kind of mapping it all out.
I think the last technical question I have is just when will the survey close or trial period close for the pop-up volleyball?
So usually when we trial a program, we usually do it for 2 seasons. Once again, we really base everything after our activity guide or the Seasons of Activity Guides. And usually at that point, we just evaluate the program, survey results, registration numbers, and then we would analyze those results and possibly go from there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any more?
I have a question. It seems the age group 15, 16, and 17 the opportunities drop off dramatically. In fact, for 17, the only thing available is karate. They're just not interested? Is that you've tried and they don't want to come?
Like, yeah, you know what's interesting is it's very, I bet there is programming out there for 15 to 17-year-olds. We haven't had a lot of requests. We've had programs for older age groups. They haven't done as well. Once again, we're open to them. The junior counselor program was a way to kind of wedge a little bit of that gap because we kind of had this area. We were missing an audience. They graduated from 5th grade from Friendship Club, and then it was like, okay, what are you going to do? So that's kind of a window into it. But then a lot of people are 16, 17, 18 get jobs. And
Well, okay, that's what I was wondering. If you think they just are not interested or there's nothing appeals to them. They have other things that are taking their time, maybe jobs, right?
yeah, I don't have like a survey result saying the answer to that, but we haven't seen requests for that age group. It then jumps to that 18 and older, and that's kind of where we're getting the karate or there's also sports that are going on during that time when kids are in high school, and those sports are ran through the high schools or other specialty leagues. Not sure if I answered that, but.
And one more question. So during the reservations for the field, is there a peak time when almost everybody's trying to play, or is it pretty much, you for instance, I guess at Memorial Park, a lot of those tennis courts and the baseball field.
At the tennis courts, is there a peak time that?
Yeah.
Those courts are used all the time. I don't know, we would probably have to pull some data from our registration software to see if we could track some type of peaks of when it was busiest. The only thing about that is then we have first come, first serve. So we could pull some data, but we'd also have to take into account this probability that there would be people out there playing.
It'd be hard to know, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to know. This time of year, the tennis, Albany High School tennis varsity and JV, I was just at the park right now, and they were having a big tournament, so it's being used quite a bit.
I just had a comment about, just to address what you said earlier just a little bit. It's just that I think as high schoolers, a lot of the focus is on more academic programs, and I know it's really a pity that we're not having as much time to do recreation, but I think that might be a side effect of why there's low turnout in those kinds of programs. And just, I understand that this is all printed already, but I noticed a small typo.
Close your eyes.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I think it's just minor because it just says the time is 1 p.m. to 12 p.m. on page 7.
Oh dear. Okay.
I think that just means 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. But yeah, I don't know.
Let's get that in the public record.
The future. Yeah.
Yeah.
About that. Great catch.
That's all from me.
I have a comment too, but I don't know if you're going to go to public comment first, so.
Let's do comments, yeah.
We do have a hand raised online.
Let's go online.
Amy, you can go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Amy Smolens. I'm a member of Albany Strollers and Rollers. We're an all-volunteer organization committed to service and advocacy for active transportation, which includes walking and biking and scooters and wheelchairs and skating. We've provided hundreds of bike racks in Albany and have worked on and funded a lot of other improvements for residents and visitors to Albany, so our city is safer and more comfortable and enjoyable to ride bikes and use active transportation. Over the past few years, multiple times we've offered to the rec department that we purchase an adult tricycle or two and a few helmets and some locks for the senior center for seniors to use. We've had some seniors who have said to us that they don't feel comfortable riding a regular bike, but a trike would be something that they would ride. Obviously, I wouldn't expect everyone to buy one on their own. The senior center is literally across the street from the Ohlone Greenway, so it really is a perfect location for this and an opportunity for seniors to get out and go for a spin and stay healthy and fit, and get healthy and fit. I'm almost a senior, my partner's a senior. People of all ages and abilities can and should be active, so I hope the rec department will take advantage of our offer to help seniors get active and healthy. Now, on the other end of the age spectrum, for years, the rec department partnered with ASNR on the Bike About Town family rides. Those were public group rides, one Friday a month from May to September. And it was a really great opportunity for families, including lots of like really tiny kids on tiny bikes, to bike around town. And it was like a little party. It was really nice. And the event stopped with the change in the staff. And I know we've been asked about this many times by families and people I see. When's Bike About Town coming up? So I hope the new staff of the rec department, I know you're not new, but different regime, will bring this back, as it was really a wonderful opportunity for families and people to bike around. I appreciate the community events, but I think don't forget that active activities like bicycling for community members of all ages and abilities are really important and build healthy lifetime habits. So please consider partnering with us on these projects and any others that you come up with. And Sid knows where to reach me. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Thanks.
Are there any more public comments?
No other hands are raised.
Okay, we can go now to commission discussion.
I was just going to say thank you so much for all your programming and the new programming. So first of all, so happy to see concerts in the park, 4 nights, yay. And I love that you moved it a little bit earlier because we can take advantage of the school season being earlier, so families will be back in town in August, and that also makes the nights are longer then too, right? And then also just the moving the park that you added and the Bohem, I'm just so excited to go to all those events that are new, right? Both of those are new. And I really do feel like they're places where the whole community comes together, because as much as I love all this other recreation, there's 20 people per class or whatever. It's really a whole community coming together for these evening events, like, intergenerational. So thank you so much to the whole team.
Any more comments?
Yeah, I was wondering about the public comment of the tricycles. What have people heard about that, and has the city looked into tricycles for the senior center?
Was that a question?
Yes.
I'm so sorry. Oh, goodness. I have not heard about it. I'll follow up about it, though. Keena McCarran is our senior center supervisor, so we'll just kind of look into that.
Mm-hmm. And also, she said that as someone who's almost a senior, what is the age for being a senior and being able to participate in the senior activities in Albany?
What is the age that we're?
How old do you have
center?
to be?
We actually accept all ages, really, at the senior center. I'm gonna.
I see an age limit here.
I used to work at the senior center. That's where I started. It's 50 and over.
It's
Our program.
shockingly low.
Yes.
Shockingly low to be called a
Yes.
senior.
50 and over. There are some programs that are have different or higher age requirements. Our paratransit program, our dining program, and those. But to just come to the senior center and participate, it's 50 and over.
Okay.
I would also just make a comment that the Chamber of Commerce has taken advantage of senior center facilities from time to time. It's always a great location. We had a social media workshop there that was great. We have a stroll workshop every year there, and it's always very successful. I thank you very much for making that available.
Yeah, thank you so much for your presentation and all that you are doing. My last question is just whether there are if there's scholarships or financial assistance for anyone that might not be able to, that wants to participate but can't, especially like youth and their families. I just don't see it in here, so, and I want to make sure I
No,
can
there
tell people about it.
There actually one in there at the beginning for youth. Albany Police Activity League, APAL, offers a scholarship through us for youth programming. So you can apply, you can receive an application by going to info@albanyca.org or calling in. We'll send you an application. They can fill it out. That can be applied to any of the youth programs. We also have ARPA, which is funding and scholarships for our Friendship Club and our Friendship Camp programming. You can reach out to Kate Miller for those scholarships. As for adult scholarships, is that what you're asking about?
Mostly youth, but feel free to speak to
I don't, as of right now, we don't have any adult scholarships. I do know Friends of Albany Seniors does really support senior programming. And if anybody needs financial support there to attend some of the contract classes and or the senior travel troop.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Are we wrapping up? Any last comment? Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right, our next presentation is the street tree management plan, and thank you so much to the Parks Department for being here. Just as you're walking out, I just want to say goodbye and thank you. So yes, our next presentation is the street tree management plan. Our very own Jeff Bond, Community Development Director, where are you? There you are, will be presenting on this. And maybe also Hort Science? Okay,
Good evening. Thank you.
welcome back.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Appreciate it. So,
Mic is yours.
Thank you. So once again, I'm Daria Barrar. I'm Managing Consulting Urban Forester at Hort Science Bartlett Consulting. And Ryan is here with me as well tonight. Thank you for having us. Next slide, please.
Daria, can you speak into the mic for us, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, so tonight we're just going to have a little bit of a recap, go through some of the what is management plan stuff that we went over last time. We're also going to talk about creating a vision for our street trees. We're going to talk about some of our hopeful outcomes from some of the pieces of the project, and we're going to talk about the survey, which is up online currently. All right, so street tree master plan, or management plan, sorry, or the STMP, it provides a baseline for, or an analysis of our tree inventory, which the tree inventory was stemmed out of the CAP, and that project was completed before we were brought on board. So we are using the inventory that was completed about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago? 2 years ago, about that, yeah. It also will include a comparison with other cities, just to kind of take the temperature on where we are, and that will help us to define where we're going. So a street tree master plan should also include some definitions, some kind of high-level stuff, but then also more specific information. Similar to the way that an ordinance is structured, where there's a definitions section, it's just helpful for everybody to understand terms that are being used when we're talking about very specific things. So we'll also have outlines for standards of care. So kind of best management practices across the board is what is usually included in a document like this. And we'll provide goals and sort of a path or a map on how to achieve those goals. And that's kind of part of the visioning stuff that we're going to be talking about. All right, so we want to include some big picture policy items, which would be kind of included in the plan or part a companion document, stuff that would come back to this body, but also be reviewed and hopefully adopted by City Council. And then some sort of more policy and process, some more process documents, more of a companion document. It would kind of help residents and staff know how to implement those policies. So kind of two pieces, one more high level that isn't going to change very frequently, and the other one is more changeable and should be changed and should be used by staff and by community members to help them kind of understand how to implement those. All right, so what would be in the plan? Hopefully we will have a really strong and effective vision statement. We'll have an analysis of the existing trees. We'll have some general information about tree care and about trees in general. Always one of the main goals of these kinds of documents is education more than a lot of other things. It's a great piece of, a great document to be able to use for that kind of thing. Policies will be outlined in the plan. And then, you know, like we talked about, some sort of process documents about how to implement those policies. We also want to include recommendations by way of design guidelines, things that we talked about at the last few meetings, kind of right tree, right place elements. And some of that information will be guided a lot by the vision that we come up with as a group. Some recommendations for process changes by way of planting and removal and stuff like that. And then we want to leave the city with a sort of climate-forward recommendations for street trees that would also implement the vision of the vision that we come up with together. So limitations of the plan, or what will not be in the plan. We will not be covering private trees in this document. We won't be covering park or median trees. I understand that the Albany Hill trees are going to be dealt with in a different document as well. Sort of some of the streetscape elements, like by way of, you know, street width and bike lane width and sidewalk conditions, like what type of parkway or tree well, size of tree well, those kinds of things aren't going to be in this document. Those are, the place for those is more some streetscape specific plans that the city also has already. All right, so we're going to be creating a vision, and that is hopefully going to be a collective effort with this group, also with our community and what we hear, what the feedback that we get from the survey. Sorry, next slide, I'm jumping ahead here. All right, so what is a vision? A vision statement is a declaration of an organization's objectives. The statement can serve as a guide for the organization, indicating and defining a direction for growth and goals. So I got this sort of definition off of the Indeed website. And I think what's really important here is that we are thinking high level for a vision statement. So it's a kind of, we want it to reflect our values. And that goal, there are some things that need to be included in the vision in order to make it a successful vision. And the vision does need to include goals. That is one of the most important things. It does need to include how those goals are going to be achieved by way of a funding source. And then we need to be specific about who's going to be the decision maker or who's going to be responsible. So those pieces are key to a clear vision. And I'm going to ask Jeff to take the next slide.
Thank you. Jeff Bond, the Community Development Director. I want to acknowledge that I think it was Commissioner Chang Frank who at several meetings ago mentioned the importance of a vision and completely agree with that. And hopefully we'll, through the work together, we'll get there with something that kind of brings people together as a starting point. It's a statement. It's not the whole plan. It hopefully it's built out of comments from a lot of different people. The Commission, obviously, are professional consultants, members of the community, and we have put together a survey that we'll talk about in a second, And part of that idea of the survey is maybe we get some kernels of ideas about what people feel like should be the vision for this plan. A really important place that we're hoping to engage with people is at the upcoming Community Expo. You just heard about that coming up later this month. And we're hoping that people will be there. We'll hope to engage with people, hope that they can snap a QR code and go to our webpage, take the survey if they wish. And from that, bring back to you some pieces, some themes that we think that might be a good vision statement, and kind of mold that a little bit over the next few months, perhaps, and again, hopefully have a statement that brings people together. There'll still be some controversies and different perspectives on things, how to do things, but if we all have a common starting point, a common objective, I think the vision statement will help keep us on track to having a successful plan.
Thanks. Jeff is a little taller than I am. All right, so what are some outcomes that we are hoping for out of our process here? All right, some desired outcomes would be that the document would contain, be sort of a clearinghouse for all things street trees. One place where folks can look for everything they need to know. We are hoping that this document will contain some do's and don'ts about street tree maintenance. And we would hope that it would have a recommended street tree list based on planting site size and some other planting conditions that we will talk about in the plan. We would hope that we would have a defined process for land removals and for replacement of street trees. So a kind of a flow chart is what I'm hoping to see, something like that. And then recommended community engagement plan for future outreach and public interaction with the plan. Survey. You guys have heard some tidbits so far, but we have a survey out right now, and we would love for everyone who has access to a website to be able to fill it out. Everyone who cares about trees in Albany, it's really important. Or if you don't care about trees, we welcome all. What we're hoping to understand is how the community perspectives on the shared maintenance agreement, which some folks might not be familiar with the shared maintenance. It's the city has some maintenance responsibilities around street trees, but mostly falls to the adjacent property owner or adjacent is it adjacent property owner? It is.
Yeah, property owner.
Okay. Yeah, so it falls to the adjacent property owner. We also are hoping to understand what the community is looking for in this document as well. So some direction there would be great. Next slide. Thank you. We are hoping to understand and sort of get more information that helps us ensure that our overreaching goals are representative of the entire community. And we are hoping to maximize street tree benefits so that we can deliver the greatest amount of benefits to the community at large, and everyone in it equally distributed. So those are the main key things that we're hoping to get out of our survey. Okay, so some next steps. As Jeff mentioned, we are going to be at the Community Expo. Ryan and one of our other folks will be at the Community Expo answering questions. I should start with the fact that we are hoping to come back to you all with a pretty solidified vision for the May 9th meeting, which is just next month. So we're hoping to get some preliminary feedback at the Community Expo and also tonight, as well as throughout the next month or so and be able to come back with something that we can start working on. I know that sounds kind of fast, but the frank part of this conversation is that we have to get moving on the project. So we want to kind of move it along so that we can start working on other pieces. So we have sent out some information. The survey is up on the website, and we are going to continue to tap those resources and send out information. There's also a contact us part of the website, the city's website, that allows people to communicate with us directly. Next step beyond that is the draft policies and procedures documents for implementation. I think we're thinking that it would be kind of in rough draft format, but pretty fleshed out, so that, and we would be hoping to bring that back to this body in September, October, and that would cover sort of funding for the street tree program, sort of a flow chart for us to start to think about what a process document might actually look like, how we would handle everything from pruning requests to planting requests, stuff like that. So that's kind of what we're looking for in the future and what we're hoping to see in the next few months. And that's all I got.
Thank you. Are there any questions from commissioners?
Well, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I'm sorry. The draft or the document that you're bringing back in September, that's not the complete plan? Is that the complete plan? No, that's just a,
Yeah.
okay, that was my understanding, okay.
Yeah, we want to get direction from this body and also from community members, and want the community to have some input on any kind of plan before we have sort of a more solidified draft.
I guess I'm just, you mentioned policies, procedures, but there's a lot of other things there that weren't listed. I didn't know if you're planning to have it all done by, a draft all done by then, or is that a piece of it? I don't know how long you're planning to work on this, I guess is my question.
For as long as possible. No, we are.
You and me both.
We're hoping to be out of your hair soon. I think we're probably thinking this, I don't know.
Okay.
We'll see how it goes. But we're hoping to have some fleshed out things.
Thank you.
I had a question about how the climate action plan is guiding or informing, all of this, all of the plan development.
Yeah, so that's a really good question.
So some of the main things that I noticed of importance in the CAP that were related to trees were mostly related to increasing canopy cover and preserving the current resource that Albany already has. Like we went over last time, the canopy cover resulting from street trees is a limited resource. So we want to make sure that we have some defined procedure documents in terms of maintenance, removal, planting, and trying to maximize new canopy cover and preserving existing conditions, which is arguably more important. There is inherent limitations in the amount of canopy that can be increased with street trees. We went over last time. Most of the canopy cover in Albany comes from private trees or park trees. So we want to manage that expectation there. We're not going to double the canopy with street trees, but we want to make sure that we're placing that as our number one priority. And also having a focus on equity. Benefits of trees are extremely localized, and we want to make sure that the trees are distributed around the city in a way that spreads those benefits around to the most amount of people that we can.
Thanks. And the last presentation you gave was about the sort of opportunities of growth, like the sort of canopy maximum size that we kind of have a dearth of that, or lower than average. And so does that mean that you would potentially recommend what kinds of trees to plant for replacement, or, not even replacement, but just for existing wells that aren't planted yet?
Yeah, absolutely. So we would, one, want to pick species that are going to fit in projected climate change. The stress, low water use, trees that are able to deal with water conditions and low water. It's hard to be a tree anywhere in this changing climate, especially in the public realm. So that's going to be number one. Like Daria mentioned earlier, factoring in the size of the planters is going to be extremely important too, and matching the tree geometry to the geometry of the actual site to make sure that we can maximize the tree canopy with each plant.
Yeah, it's important for us to be able to leave the city with a good start, but it's something that a street tree list, a recommended list, is really just the beginning, because species are changing all the time. There's new cultivars that are being produced by nurseries, and it's something that we're constantly learning new things about. So it's not like there's a very few parts of this document that I feel like will not change over time. The idea behind a management plan is that we get you a solid start, and then your staff members will implement those good starts and actually use them and utilize those tools to be able to maximize the benefits of trees throughout the city.
A couple questions. So you said median trees are not included. I'm thinking Buchanan has some median trees, Key Root, Albany Greenway, probably not then. But aren't there, so when you say median, it seems there are some street trees that are median trees. What do you?
I think Mark is going to say that median trees are maintained through a different funding source.
Yeah, so not so much funding source, just a whole different structure, whereas I think the street tree management plan is really helpful from like defining responsibilities between a property owner and the city. Median trees are kind of under a generalized maintenance contract, so it doesn't really fit that
Pedestrian
model.
conflict and stuff.
That said, I think a lot of the information in terms of species that would work and so forth would be, we would leverage the information in the street tree management plan.
Okay, great, thank you. The other issue was the insurance, well, not insurance, but the responsibilities, which seems kind of complex. That you talked about this. I think the owners have the responsibility for the streets here, but the city comes in and maintains it. It seems like once you touch it, you own it. And also seems like when lawyers get involved, they go for the big pockets. So there might be what's written, but then in reality it's totally different. So, and it seems like most of the community members would want to own their tree until it becomes a hazard, then they're going to back off, So how is that all negotiated? We're going to find out.
Well, that's kind of the policy that we're talking about, right? So an ordinance is a policy document, and the ordinance right now says that the adjacent property owner is responsible for maintenance responsibilities to do with the street tree. And I think a lot of cities that have had that have found it very difficult to implement, because like you said, when something goes wrong, the city is ending up holding the bag. And I think actively maintaining trees is something that's very important, especially if we're looking to grow canopy. That there is a standard of care that is being implemented across the board. So the city taking on responsibility for maintaining trees in the right-of-way is something that we are definitely interested in looking into. It is something that many cities that have a shared maintenance agreement have found to be unsuccessful. City of San Francisco is probably the best example of that. There was a shared maintenance agreement that, I don't know if you guys read about it, but the City of San Francisco basically ended up passing a tax that has fully funded their program just because they found it to be completely and totally too much of a behemoth to try and manage in a shared maintenance agreement way. Because at the end of the day, the city ended up with a lot of liability and without having control over that liability. It's a very difficult situation, I think, for the city to be in, because there isn't a lot of, it takes a lot of tools from their toolbox, right? And pruning and different types of methods of maintaining trees aren't in their toolbox, and the only tool that they have is removal. And that puts us really behind the 8 ball in terms of trying to grow the urban forest. So that's definitely something that we are interested in hearing from the community about what they think about the shared maintenance. I definitely have opinions about it. I'm happy to tell you about them offline.
As do I. Okay, it's a big question, I know. The other thing was on your diversity statement, it seemed like, which is fine, but aren't we also looking for a diversity of trees too, not just a diversity of?
Yeah, of course, absolutely. We want to see a diversity of trees 100% across the board, for sure. Diversity in an urban forest is what gives us resilience, frankly. I mean, I used to work at a city in Southern California, and it was very, very heavily impacted by the polyphagous shot-hole borer. And it's an invasive pest that came from regions of Asia that grow fast wood for companies like IKEA and furniture and stuff like that, and attack an invasive pest attacking native species in the native environment. So there's really just globalization is to blame for a lot of different pests and diseases that are out there. And there's no way to sort of protect your urban forest from things like that unless you have good diversity across the board. So diversity is definitely the goal.
Another place real quick to piggyback on that for diversity that would be helpful in this city is we've seen the consequences of decisions made some decades ago to plant all of like one type of tree in a certain neighborhood, like liquid amber trees, for example. And now we have those communities all upset because those trees are needing to be removed and cut down as they're dropping limbs and having other failures. Sort of, they're all aging out at the same time, so.
Yeah, and that raises an excellent point about not just species diversity, but also age diversity. So the best and most resilient urban forests have a range of different ages of trees on the street. They have a range of different species. They have a range of all different types of planting pits and sizes, and the reality is that's the kind of world that we have to have in order to be resilient for what is in our future, because we just don't know what's happening. And that's why I said that about species. There are new species coming online all the time that are better adapted for our climate than the tree species that we have currently. So, for example, a really great one is island oak. It's a Catalina Island native, and nurseries have been growing it, and it's having excellent success in Northern California's climate at the moment. So it's one that it looks very similar to coast live oak, which is our native, but it's a little different, and it's performing really well. Very, very drought tolerant.
Before we continue with any more commissioner questions and comments, do we have any comments online? Okay, so I'll have a couple, but just want to make room for others.
I did too, so whenever you
Okay, I'll just go for it real quick. Let's see, so when the survey is how you'll form like the draft vision for next meeting. Like, I just want to know how we're contributing to that.
Absolutely use the survey. I wouldn't say we're going to use it exclusively. I think we'd like to take what we can get out of it, but we'll look at what other cities have come up with, what you all might want to come up with, and And, the one-on-one engagements that we might have at the Community Expo, anything and everything that we can get.
I see, okay, thank you. And what was the other thing? Oh, is it helpful, or do you go to other commissions to share about this, if not, like, fully present? Like climate action, I think, do they meet?
We have. I've gone to the, it was a park, no, this is Parks Commission. Sorry, I got a lot of meetings. The Planning and Zoning Commission last month, and gave them a 5 or 10 minute update on what we're doing here. So, and the Climate Action Committee, Sutton Payne, our Civic Spark, I think he made a presentation, February maybe. And we'll keep that up as other commissions and committees have room on their agenda. And then when we get to the point where we have something to recommend to the city council, again, we'll probably want to go around to the other groups to get their input.
Okay, thank you. Well, are there any other?
We now have 2 hands raised.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a few questions.
Brian, do you mind
Thanks.
if we go to the public just, and then we can come back?
Sure.
Just so we can give them a chance to, all right, well, let's go.
David, go ahead. David, you're muted.
Gotcha.
There you go.
I'm David Wemmer. I'm a member of the Albany Climate Action Coalition, which is a citizen group, that's involved in the community and trying to, move our climate action, our plan, our climate action plan forward. We also, we have a smaller group within our organization that just kind of formed to take on and help participate in the street tree program. And we were, unbeknownst to us, that we had this new study and project moving forward. And so it was very fortuitous. We kind of started up and we got out and got flyers into the community to try and get people to sign up for street trees here at the end of this year's planting. Hopefully we had a little surge there, but we're very much excited about this project moving forward. We'll be active participants. Look forward to meeting you all at the upcoming expo, and so I'm just really glad you guys are starting in, and we're here to support you during the project, and also we're going to be here after the project and support the city any way we can to further the street tree program.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Lucinda, go ahead.
Hi, this is Lucinda Young. I'm a longtime Albany resident. I also am a member of the Albany Climate Action Coalition. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank you for the great presentation, and also to express just a little bit of my vision for our street tree plan. I'm not looking for just some pretty trees. Although certainly aesthetics is, I think, should be part of our plan. But we are in a climate emergency. In fact, the Albany Climate Action Committee just 2 months ago passed an emergency declaration and has submitted to City Council. And we are also in the midst of a biodiversity crisis, loss, extinction of species. And those challenges, I think, should be the guiding posts for our street tree plan. And I hope that that will be factored in and part of our vision, that trees are a central part of our climate action plan and are also key to addressing extinction of species. All trees are not the same. I also look at what other cities are doing with their street tree plans, And I was disappointed to see Albany has no native, or I think maybe there is one native tree on our list. And I understand there are many, many constraints with street trees. And there certainly are some natives that are not appropriate, given the many constraints for street trees. But it does not seem to be factored in at all into our current street tree plan, whereas it certainly is a part of San Francisco's and other cities' street plans. And I think with the increased awareness in fighting climate change and the massive loss and extinction of species, there is a growing interest in the importance and awareness of the importance of native trees. So I hope that will be looked at in developing this new street tree plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lucinda.
Commissioner?
Yeah, thanks. I'll get back to the questioning. Thank you. So one question was, the presentation said there's updated recommended street tree list based on planting site. Do you anticipate that being a general guidelines based on well size, for example, or do you see it being more site by site throughout the city, having some subset of trees that you think would best fit that site, in specific sites?
Good question. I think what our goal is to have planting sites categorized into small, medium, and large.
Just well size, okay.
Well size, but also each individual planting site needs to be inspected for things like overhead lines and other factors at the site, building overhangs, awnings, things like that. So giving specific recommendations about each site, because things change in the urban environment all the time, isn't super helpful, but it's more helpful to give kind of recommendations for what is out there and help the staff be able to kind of go to something and give them some guidelines about what they can.
Okay, so it'll be more of a human factor there to figure out what's actually happening at a particular site. So for that bullet point, if you are going to give the presentation again, you might just add the word size at the end. So a list based on planning site size. I think that's what you're trying to say. And then another item in the presentation said flowchart of how tree pruning requests are handled. I was wondering, does that imply that the city will not have its own flowchart for when to do pruning, or that it's the plan will likely have how the city will go through a process to decide when and where to prune?
Yeah, I think my vision for that is that right now, the city doesn't do tree pruning for street trees. So I think what we are hoping to do is help to implement some kind of proactive maintenance throughout the city. So I think what that would look like can be different in every city and can be specific to Albany, but at the very least, would give some guidelines about how to implement a proactive maintenance program.
Okay, so you might want to add a bullet point for that as well, because that would show that that's intended to be part of the whole delivered product. That sounds good. And you said this isn't for park trees or trees on private land. I was wondering if how, let's see, and Mark, you mentioned on medians that, that's just run by the city, so we don't have this interaction with homeowners to factor in. But are there some things that will come from this that can be applied to parks and maybe even things like heritage trees on private land going forward?
I could probably jump in on some of this. In terms of parks, the way I see it is, again, we would leverage information in it in terms of what species are appropriate and whatnot, but we have more flexibility, and my hope, and John's done a good job in at least we're trying to get on a cycle where we do surveys of all the trees in all of our parks, and that serves a basis for having discussions at this commission about, hey, this tree's doing well or not, and here's some maintenance things, or so we can make decisions about trees on sort of a different type of process. And I think we have more flexibility in terms of we're not constrained by a planter strip, so we can plant trees to provide shade over picnic areas and things of that sort. And so I think it's a different lens we would look through, but we would use a lot of the information about species from the plan.
Okay, thanks, that was it for me.
Just to get
Oh,
back
yeah,
to your
sure.
question about trees on private property, that could be a piece or recommendation that would come out of a project like this, is to develop some kind of protections and/or some direction for trees on private property, but it's not going to be a part of the document. Like, we're not going to cover that. It could be a recommendation for something to do in the future. But that is not what we are going to be covering.
Okay, thanks.
I have just a couple follow-up questions. One is, did you say that you would be helping to develop a list of recommended street trees? Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. And then the other question I have is the survey online right now, or is it
Yes,
up
it
right
is
now?
online right now.
Oh, and how would I find it?
Yeah, so I should have put a QR code on this. If I knew how to do that, I would have done it.
It's kind of buried.
It's hard to find right now. We just got it up. We're going to start to promote it in all the usual places. I tried to use some of the search engines, and it wasn't popping up this evening. So bear with us a day or two, but we'll start to get that out so everybody knows how to find it. I could read off the web page description, but that would be really tedious.
And when will the survey be closed? So it's gonna,
Probably if we get back to you in your May meeting, we'd probably want to close it right at the end of, right before your May meeting. Or we can keep it, right, we can keep it open, as long as it's a useful tool. If we can revise it over time, if there are new questions that come up, we can do something new. But at the very least, it will be, we can talk about that. Obviously, we haven't decided exactly when we're going to do that.
Yeah, we want to get feedback. We want to get feedback for as long as possible. So we really are interested to hear what people have to say. As long as people are still filling it out, we'll still be reading those answers.
And I suppose if we're telling people about it, we can say the earlier you get in, the more leverage your voice has in some ways. If you're
Yeah.
informing the vision, that has,
Absolutely.
I think that concludes the time for the presentation. Thank you, Daria. And is it Ryan or Scott? Ryan, okay. So thank you for
you.
being here.
thank you.
Exciting, very exciting.
We'll see you in May. All right, well, now so we're gonna move on to discussion possible action on a couple different items. The first is the Albany Greenway Play Equipment Subcommittee. And I know we'll have Mark here back in a second. So this is, just to read this out loud, discuss possibility of creating an ad hoc subcommittee to research and recommend exercise or other play equipment to be placed. Why are you giggling? Because he's not here. I can start, I can kick this off, maybe. So an item that was removed from the recommendations for the use of the SSB was the
Albany Greenway
equipment.
exercise equipment.
Right. It was kind of like a pedal and a pull-up. It was a couple different things. And there are a couple of reasons for that I will let Mark go into, but he decided to remove it and wanted to do a better analysis of possible equipment.
Yeah, so basically, we removed all the exercise equipment at the Albany Greenway, and we're
You don't mean it all got removed? You mean from our proposed tax?
No, I mean, the equipment got removed from that location.
Oh, it all got removed.
Yes, so all that equipment got removed,
All of
and
it.
now we're hoping to propose a subcommittee, so that way we can come up with a better idea of what to place there, as well as equipment or activity or whatever you guys may see fit, and then we kind of want to go from there, if that makes sense.
So even the fixed items are removed?
All of the exercise equipment was removed.
Is that a specific location? Because I just walked by there today and like the pedal one,
Was still there?
yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm not thinking of the right location, but on the Greenway, the pedal, like a yellow pedal, they were on it today.
Okay. We were told that it all got removed, and we had pictures of it in the back of his truck, so.
Why would we remove it?
There's been issues with finding replacement parts and just
I mean,
maintaining it.
The fixed bars, those things, I mean, there's no movement in.
The fixed bars?
Yeah, there's things you could just do push-ups on.
Well, I'm going to let Mark jump in on that since,
So we're wondering about the status of the current equipment on the Albany.
but yes,
or
perfect
exercise
timing.
equipment, right?
Or-
Including the bars. Like,
Is there any current equipment on the
is there
Greenway?
anything there right now?
So we do have, so, sorry for stepping out for a moment. I assume from the subcommittee?
Yeah. Yes.
So this came out of the, our sugar sweetened beverage recommendations to replace some of the equipment that broke. And we had one piece that was fixed and one piece that was movable. I missed the last meeting, but I watched it. And one of the things that struck me, and I didn't realize it, and Commissioner Chen pointed it out about the app and how all that works, and I dug into that deeper, and I thought, absolutely not, we don't want that. Because apparently the app allows you to change the resistance, and I looked into the, the warranties, the equipment, the fixed parts have a 10-year warranty and a 2-year warranty on the electronics. So to me, that wasn't something we wanted to get into, and that, and then I spoke with our maintenance folks about the rest of the equipment out there. There were 4 pieces in that area, and we have had trouble getting replacement parts for the moving pieces of equipment. So that, in my mind, put a pause on all the equipment there. So we took out, there was one piece, the elliptical, that was missing some parts, and we've been having trouble getting them. So we have removed that. So there's one, I think, bike piece that's still out there, that's still functioning. But what I wanted to do is maybe take a step back, and we have an opportunity here to really, what do we want at that location? And that's what be the purpose of this ad hoc subcommittee, would be to research what other cities would do, what would go well here. Some of the things that, just from my past, engagement with the commission, there was talk about a concrete ping pong table or things of that sort. So this gives us that opportunity to, like, rather than, hey, something's broke and we have some things that are kind of like this, let's, we have a pretty large area there. Let's really take a step back, figure out what we want there, what would work, have maybe more of a maintenance discussion about it. And then we can program it into the upcoming CIP project that we have going on. So that's sort of the logic behind all of this.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay, so just the moving pieces were removed.
Yeah, so it's just, so if you look at the site, there's the north side of the site has this fixed stuff, the push-up, the bars, that's all staying there. And that seems to be doing pretty well. It's just the 4 pieces that we're moving.
Well, before we go into discussion, I think I want to add in another relevant piece of information, which is that two meetings ago, we wanted to kind of pick up a need identified in the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, which is to look at what activities would be relevant for the Greenway and like other maintenance needs, and but really taking that step back, like what do we want the Albany section of the Albany Greenway to be in all its glory, right? And so, yeah, I guess I just, I want to just throw on the table that I think this subcommittee can be a bit more broad than just the equipment. Like I think I'd proposed it to be the Albany Greenway activation plan, and that like equipment space is a part of the bigger vision and goals for the Albany Greenway.
So completely agree that that's in the master plan and something we want to do. My thought, and maybe it's two separate tasks. This seems like a already defined space. Excuse me. This seems like an already defined space that we can fit something through. There's already a program. I think the master plan anticipated maybe doing a more in-depth planning process where we'd actually hire an architect and a landscape architect and really program the sites. And I think the things that are ripe for that are Pierce Street Park, Albany Greenway. Those are the major ones. I'm sure there's other areas too. So I could see almost two things. And I would say just one last thing is that larger vision, I think, is a lot of work and not something that would be completed in a reasonable amount of time. And one of the things, in talking to the city clerk, an ad hoc committee really has a defined, start and end and is achievable in a reasonable, like a year term of some sort. So I just kind of factoring all that in, maybe this is broken into two.
Well, it is where we left off 2 meetings ago, that we would explore the possibility of creating a subcommittee for the Greenway. So I'll open it up for discussion, but this is a bit of a switch and shift from that.
I would just jump in and mention that the whole workout area, that grew out of advocacy from people who were missing the park course that was removed when the thing was redone. So the idea of the equipment spread throughout the Greenway is kind of part of the original request. So just, I certainly understand your point that we've got a chunk, we should just work on that because we can. We got our hands around that, let's do that. But I think,
I would agree with the chair in terms of broadening the scope, only in that, not to say that maybe the first task of the committee is to tackle this one piece, but, and I understand this idea of having a whole planning process, but I also feel like sometimes when we do that planning process, it's just all of a sudden the consultant, I feel like there's, not to say that any of this is gonna be fast, but I do think there's a lot of just sort of consideration that we need to have that I would like to be able to dig into a little more, even if we still then after that have to hire a consultant to do it, because I understand it's a big thing. But I'm just reading this email actually I got from Council Member Jordan when he rejected the sand volleyball court, and he said, I just want to, because I'm sure he wouldn't mind, because he put this on his, but it was like, he wanted us to look into additional features in the Greenway overall. And he even said, I think it makes sense to have maybe community garden in the north or, have basketball court. So he was actually inviting us as a commission, I'm seeing this a year ago, to take this on. So I do think that there's some interest at the city council level. I would only worry also about hiring a landscape architect, that whole process taking so long. Like then we have to do an RFP and then we have to, So I would love to dig into it because I think it's such a interesting thing and impactful thing for us to potentially do, so.
I was looking at it from the vision of what would be the work product of that we can then be actionable. And maybe, again, break it into two parts. We have one piece that is screaming for something that's pretty and, you have bounds around the area where this goes. But then the other piece of it be more broad about what does the community want as a starting point for developing an RFP for a more in-depth planning and scoping of improvements. Maybe something along those lines. I was trying to fit it in that something that's achievable that then we can move into something that's actionable.
Mm-hmm. Additional comment?
So with any ideas of what you're thinking? So I like let's just kind of revamp and, so I like how you're thinking about it. Like any thoughts, ideas so far of what we can do there or?
The things that I've seen, I think there's, if we want to stay on the exercise type thing, there's installation near the Marina Green that is no moving parts and lots of use. I think there's a new one in UC Village near 8th that again has sort of a jungle gym type side and didn't look like it had moving parts. So there's a lot of I think something like that would work well. I have more things that I don't want, things like moving parts and so forth. But I think any of those things would work well.
I mean, it does sound like in some ways we are talking about two subcommittees. Would you say? I mean, on the one hand, you want them to fit together. And the problem with the second one, the larger one, is it's hard to see how that works as an ad hoc subcommittee. Is that kind of what you're saying?
That's where I was trying to frame it, where if we can frame it that there would be an endpoint, that then we can take that and move it to the next step of maybe, develop. I forget who mentioned this, but different zones in the Greenway. Maybe community garden works well up here. What would that look like? And we can then do some focused effort. So it would be a starting point for the deeper dive that would develop projects.
So find a way to constrain that very broad committee so it makes sense. Okay, but you could still have it.
And right now, before the equipment broke down, we know who mostly used the equipment. I know the seniors are kind of across. Was it mostly them, or?
Gosh, there's a whole lot of people. There's all ages and.
Okay. The preschool's across the street too, so it's all kinds of use.
That's right.
Anyone walking by stops there, and it's a heavily used area. And even the log scramble on the south side gets a lot of use as well.
Is it, the parks just get worn out, or is there active vandalism on it?
The parks?
Yeah,
Parts?
the pieces, do they break because they're worn out, or they break because?
Combination. The first couple of pieces that we took out a while ago, they just broke right out of the box, and we got replaced over and over and over and over, and we just finally said this isn't working, and the amount of attention needed. I think there is some vandalism that people. I don't know if it's vandalism or just people being rough with it.
Yeah, right.
So it's. I don't have a good sense.
And you don't have to go through BART, right? You can do whatever you want under there.
The BART, we do have to go through BART. BART is a big constraint on what we can do under the, it's the area from the curb to the Greenway is actually BART property, and we have easements over it, so they have a big say in what we can do.
Okay, yeah. I guess just coming back to the general Albany Greenway plan and the subcommittee, I guess, from my understanding, it'd be a subcommittee for that topic is not really appropriate, and it would be that we would have a general plan for the Albany Greenway, and then we would have each section maybe be an ad hoc subcommittee or something like that, or?
Well, I would think if we wanted to do an ad hoc subcommittee for the Greenway planning, we would want to frame it in a way that it doesn't drag on forever. It has a point where you have an output that then staff can take and run with and develop the plans more fully. Similar to what we did with, I would say, the dog park's a good example where, I don't know if it was an ad hoc committee, but okay, it was, developed some concepts that then I think we developed further. And so I think that would be, that makes a lot of sense. That's something that, identify uses where it might work, what does the community want? And then we can figure out where it fits and what constraints there are. There's one, under the BART tracks is one concerned, can you get outside of the BART tracks? So there's a lot of other things that get more technical in nature once we figure the what.
I just had a question though, because I think when you framed it and said, we want to step back, it made me think the bigger picture.
Yeah.
But you're not necessarily suggesting we would totally revamp that area, like that specific area, are you?
No, I was, for that one area, when I mean step back, I mean, I think what I meant step back was on a more micro level where instead of trying to resurrect the equipment that's driving us nuts,
Yeah.
start fresh with that square plot.
Because I would say that because it is proven to be popular, it would be nice for it to just be like, let's just get all stationary equipment that works well, that's popular, like instead of trying to anyway, so.
So that's yes,
Okay.
I'm on that.
Okay.
I think there could be a pretty quick decision made about what we want there, and then we can incorporate in the CIP and then get it constructed and installed in a pretty reasonable amount of time. Whereas I think the larger analysis is it might be however long it takes to get the output, but then implementing each one of those things has its own timeline.
I kind of agree. This needs to be fixed fairly quickly. We have those cones sitting there, and then we leave time to do the larger vision.
Yeah, I think I feel comfortable with taking on this subcommittee first. We've talked through this, and with the possibility of when it's sunset, or to think about the next subcommittee, especially being something along the lines of like preparing these concepts like you did for the dog park, or preparing an RFP that goes to city council. So I feel comfortable with that, and maybe we can, so any other comments on that? And do we have any public comment, by the way?
Yes, we do have one hand raised.
Okay. Let's go to public comment, and we can come back to any for final commission discussion.
Amy, you're on.
Thank you. Hey, it's Amy again. Talking about the Olona Greenway itself, don't forget about the Greenway itself, not just things that are around it. The pedestrian and bike markings are really rubbed out because people have been walking and riding on them, and so they're not very visible. So a lot of users aren't aware of which lane to be in, and that causes conflicts. The outer DG dirt pedestrian runner paths are covered with weeds, and they're rutted, and they're really not usable in so many places. Like, you can't even fit 2 feet in there, so you can't walk on them. And a lot of people like to walk and run on that soft surface, including myself. So they're too narrow, they're not usable. So just please, before you talk about lots of bells and whistles, which are really nice, look at basic maintenance so the entire path is usable for people, like the Bay Trail in Richmond is. It's super wide and super well maintained, and the dirt path is really well weeded and everything. So please do something about the basic maintenance and usefulness of the path itself quickly, if you can, before you're looking at new equipment, which is valuable, but get the Greenway so it's maintained well and usable for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any further commission discussion?
I just, one thing that I'm kind of thinking about is something, Julie, that you brought in about, I think when we were talking about this way back when, but attractions that appeal to not just the very physical, like teenage girls might be attracted to something else. So just having that in mind as we consider these activities.
Well, I'd like to move to create an ad hoc subcommittee to research and recommend exercise or other play equipment to be placed at the Albany Greenway Mini Park.
I second that.
Any additional comment, discussion, motion? Okay, we can go to vote.
Commissioner Abbott?
Yes.
Commissioner Chang Frank?
Yes.
Commissioner Chin?
Yes.
Commissioner Kent?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Oji?
Yes.
And Chair Sainberg.
Yes.
Motion passes.
So now who's going to be on it?
How does that work?
We need a minimum of one, right? But a maximum of three?
Three, maximum three.
Who's interested?
You can have an alternate.
Who's interested?
I'm interested, but what's the, I have more questions about.
Yeah, maybe how often or
Yeah.
how often and where do they take place? And is there public notice? How does the subcommittee run?
It's up to you. It's up to the subcommittee.
We just basically email each other, call and talk. It's very informal.
Speaking to the mic, please.
Oh, yes, well, in my experience on the Flex Court Subcommittee, it's rather informal. Emails, just three of us, and we never met. We just did it all through email.
Okay.
The advantage of a ad hoc subcommittee is you don't
Did we
have
meet?
to
I missed the meeting.
Brown
Yeah,
Act.
we did.
Yeah, so.
That's actually one of the points. You have to have you can't have so many members where it triggers Brown Act, as well as it needs to be a limited term. So again, having a final output that's definitive is great.
Yeah, we'd probably have to go to the site together and discuss it, that kind of thing.
And is there a timeline in terms of the capital improvement project funding?
So we had hoped to be engaged in that process now, but it's getting pushed off a little bit further. So my senses were, we'd probably pick it up in the fall, and start. So if we wanted to do our work, the subcommittee, that's probably does, pretty good timing for incorporation into the CIP.
And the idea is that if there's no subcommittee, then all we can do is discuss it in our monthly meetings. And then, but with the subcommittee can meet extra times on its own and discuss the business of the bigger commission for that particular project, and then come back with a recommendation. It's a real efficient use of time.
And I think what's helpful is we've done it with is visit other sites and say, hey, this seems to be working well, this one doesn't, and use that as a basis for generating ideas.
And with the dog park subcommittee, we surveyed the park users. That might be an option here too. Go talk to the people who are out there using it.
Well, would it make sense to have some volunteers and move on that for the subcommittee makeup? Okay, so who is interested? Anyone interested? And also one to be an alternate, right? Okay.
Well, I stated I would be interested.
And you're interested? Okay.
I'm in.
I'm only a little hesitant right now and.
Time-wise?
Yeah, time-wise, but also I feel like if there's anyone else that's more ready, maybe I should save my time for the next committee to be involved with. Is anyone else really ready to participate in this? And I can be an alternate maybe?
Unless you're passionate about exercise equipment, I would stay off the committee. No, I'm joking.
I would love to submit recommendations to the subcommittee, but I don't think I have the bandwidth to participate.
Anyone else? Any interest?
Yeah, I'm a bit unsure about my future status on the committee, so I don't know if I can.
Everybody's so busy, everybody's afraid to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I can, and then any other interest over here? Okay, well, then I think I can be our third person. Can we have an alternate then?
I don't know if it makes sense to have an alternate.
Well, I don't think we don't need to have.
You don't have to have.
You could even have just one person, so it's
Oh.
3 people.
You don't have to
Yeah.
fill it up if you don't want to be.
Okay.
You can
By all
have
means, if you want, yeah.
Okay, well then, would someone like to move for the 3 commissioners?
I'll move this slate of commissioners for the ad hoc subcommittee on the, what are we going to call this? The
So is it 2 commissioners or 3
So
commissioners?
it's Commissioner Estrella, Commissioner Chris, and Commissioner Martin.
OG.
The only Albany Greenway Play Equipment Subcommittee, ad hoc subcommittee.
play equipment?
Yes.
Equipment, yeah. Okay. That one.
Could it be like exercise area or something to broaden it, or is that not appropriate? Or
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed it. What?
I like exercise area a lot. I think that's
Area,
better.
we're not just talking about equipment, because we could, play structure is
Yeah.
not just equipment.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And it sounded like you were opening up the idea of, Mark, of bringing in potentially other, like, things that are not this exercise equipment, like recreation equipment and things,
I think that
like a ping pong table, for example.
exactly, that's what I was thinking. And that's why when I said, reset, and we're cobbling together the old equipment, pulling that out gives us a space that isn't defined by something that isn't working. So I think that
We will fully explore it. Yeah, we will look at it.
This is making me want to join the subcommittee. Talking about ping pong. But we're just right now talking about that defined space. We're not
just
talking.
that defined space.
Right.
Ping pong is hard exercise.
But this,
Allison, our CIP manager, she was a pretty accomplished ping pong player, I think, on the international stage.
Table tennis.
Cool.
Table tennis, yes. So
Amazing.
So did we come up with a name? So,
play equipment.
play
Area.
No.
Exercise
area.
Area.
Exercise
Exercise
Activity area.
Activity, etc.
Play-
Physical
Albany
activity
Greenway
area.
Play area subcommittee? Or exercise?
should it say Albany Greenway?
Yep, Albany Greenway,
Activity area.
Activity area.
Yeah.
Activity area.
okay.
Thank you. And just because I don't even have their emails, are you able to give them to us, or maybe connect us over email, Jamira? Please?
I think we can. yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, let's move right along then to our.
We haven't voted yet. Do we need to vote on that?
Oh, we did, oh, you're right.
We don't have to. I think it's subcommittee, we can just
I
sit
don't-
there on it, but
We voted that we wanted to have the subcommittee. I don't think we have to vote on
Members.
the members.
it's fine, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so for our next, so about the Flex Court Subcommittee, sorry, we have talked about looking into how to kind of bring this to a close, right? And were you going to look more into it, Mark, or do you have an update about that?
So I think constraints I got, or the guidance I got, is there needs to be an endpoint. And so I think we need to define what that endpoint is and stick to it. So whether it's at the completion of the pilot or some other point or now, I think that's just a decision of the commission when we want that. That's why I was so focused on having a narrow scope for what we were talking about for along the Albany, just so it's clear.
And I would just add, it's easy to recreate the subcommittee. If you want to just close it now and then, oh, this came up, let's do it again. That's fine.
Possibly the members of the subcommittee could state if the goals were accomplished, what they were, and we could move to close it, is what I've thought of.
And that would free you up for this other one.
No. You two, no, that's three. That's true. There's not two. I would only say that we had I think, Commissioner Martin and I were thinking that there was a possibility of evaluating how the volleyball court could be in other parks too. We wanted to wait until we saw the end of that pilot. So, but I don't mind at all closing it and just saying we reopen when, a couple years time, whenever that time comes, so.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, and I also feel like we've already done a lot of the research to know what to recommend for Terrace Park, for example, or other things, so I'd be fine with shutting it down for now, for sure.
Well, I'll move to
Sunset.
end.
Sunset.
Sunset.
Sunset,
There
that's
we go.
actually an official word. The Flex Court Subcommittee. And thank you so much for your service
Thank you. Yeah.
on the subcommittee and the major strides that were made. I hope we can only live up to that at the activity areas. So anyway, that was my motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Commissioner Abbott?
Yes.
Commissioner Chang Frank?
Yes.
Commissioner Chin?
Yes.
Commissioner Kent?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner OG?
Yes.
And Chair Sandberg?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, well, we're coming to the end here, and are there any future agenda items? And what agenda items do we have kind of for the next meeting and anything we might want to request for that. And I'll start by saying, I can't believe I'm not going to be here next month.
Oh.
So our Vice Chair,
That's
Commissioner
me.
Todd, Commissioner Todd, would you be here?
I will be here.
Okay, I would, yeah, got a work event, so I'd really appreciate it if I can hand that over to you.
It looks like I now have a hand raised, so I don't know if we can
Yeah.
go back.
We should.
Lucinda, go ahead.
Yes, you're taking suggestions for future agenda items, is that, did I
Oh,
hear that correctly?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why I'd like to suggest that the commission look into a tree protection ordinance that protects specified trees on improved private property. Currently, Albany City Code only provides protection for trees on unimproved private property. There are several cities, two that I'm aware of in the Bay Area that provide such protection is San Francisco and Palo Alto. And I would ask that the commission look into some similar protection. I think this is particularly critical given the climate emergency that we are in the midst of. And just in the last, about 2 weeks ago, a heritage oak that was over 300 years old was removed by a private property owner. And last week, another 300-year-old oak was destined to the same fate, except several Albany residents were able to convince the homeowner to hold off while a group of Albany citizens raised funds to help him pay for the his complaints about the tree, which were essentially that it was just difficult to clean up and it was doing some damage to a fence. So we do have some beautiful heritage trees that are oaks that are really providing a benefit to our community, and I would ask the commission to look into what other cities like Palo Alto and San Francisco are doing to protect these trees that are providing a benefit to our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't think it's appropriate for us to discuss this, but I know that the city had talked about an effort like this. Is there any update on that?
I'm not aware.
Because I know we talked about this years ago, and they said, well, that's kind of a bigger lift, and it would start in planning and zoning. So last I heard, planning and zoning was actually working on.
Okay, that might have
Yeah, okay.
predated me.
Is that right?
I don't remember, but it seems like planning and zoning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a lot of implications, and maybe that's a
It was gonna
recommendation
be-
that comes out of the street tree management plan, that this then gets moved forward on a separate.
Yeah, I specifically asked about that, and she said this management plan won't have any details on what to do with trees on private land, heritage trees, for example, but it may have like one bullet item that says the city may want to look into this, basically.
Right.
So I don't know how helpful that's really going to be.
I think, yeah, but I think it would set a stage for, okay, now we've dealt with this piece, now we have another piece that we need to deal with. And that would provide a springboard.
I did want to ask if there had been further contact from the gentleman who spoke about the dog park.
Actually, yeah, I've known him for 20 years, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a lot of
So
conversations.
you got an earful. So
Yeah.
is there any need for an agenda
No,
item, or is it?
I think there was some discussion, and this is maybe one of the issues of long-term. Big concern is they don't like the moving of the gate, which is one of the more foundational decisions from making it, as I understand it, making it a dog park rather than, what is it, Section B? Wasn't that kind of tied into those two at the same time?
Well, moving the gate was just to reduce the noise for the neighbors.
The neighbors, right. And so we talked about that, and my thought is, hey, if we should go forward with the project that we have, and then if there is an issue in the conflict with the baseball, because we address that down the road.
Mm-hmm.
That-
Yeah, I just didn't know if there's an agenda item there, if you feel like it's, okay.
Yeah, we had several conversations, and
Very good.
and we sat and with our dogs and talked about it, so, yeah. I did have 2 items. We heard one about the visioning statement potentially coming back in May. Then we also have time for our 6-month maintenance sort of update, and our thought was, one of the things we've been sort of working on for a while would be landscape maintenance and our landscape maintenance contracts, and then, factoring in SB 1383, and then in the Parks Master Plan, we had the turf audit, which was, they're all sort of kind of related, and I think that would be a good meaty thing to come in and talk about and see where we're going. And quite frankly, it'd probably help be a foundational document on looking at the Albany Greenway, because there's a lot of turf there that may or may not need to be there. And so this will give us some more tangible information to work from.
Also for the dog park, if we wanted to switch that to wood chips or something that was year-round.
So this complete split decision on that, the person who spoke last time loves the grass, and it's one of the few places that has grass. And I think there's many people lining up on either side of that. And switching out to chips is actually pretty complicated, because we would have to remove some soil to make the grades work. So I would recommend holding off on that. That's pretty complicated.
Mm-hmm. But it's turf anyway, so hopefully we'll see something about turf in the...
Oh, I thought you meant the dog park.
The dog park has grass, which...
Yes. Oh, you're thinking...
Is that the definition of turf?
Maybe I'm not...
You said the master plan has something about a turf audit?
Turf meaning grass.
Yes.
And seeing where we have grass.
The dog park has grass.
Yeah, oh, yeah, the dog park would be included in that, yeah.
Okay.
And I think the turf audit would, in my mind, give us really an identification of where we want turf, what type of turf, whether it's a ball field that has one sort of maintenance regimen, or at Memorial Park, we have areas where we do public events, so that's a different sort of, and then there's more ornamental areas, so kind of defining that and defining what we want there, and then that rolls into how we maintain it.
And where we put all that compost that we're supposed to be using from the state and all that, yeah.
Yes. Well,
okay.
And who would be giving the maintenance update? Would that be you?
Razu. Razu Engen is our Public Works Manager who handles the maintenance side of the house.
Okay.
And then for Prop 68, are there any groundbreakings going on in any parks, or any updates for those?
Oh, so on Prop 68, we are, we're in contract, we're signing contracts for the pickleball side, so that should be coming here pretty quickly. It's first going to have the lights are going to, we separated out some of the contracts. The lighting work likely start here in the next couple of weeks, hopefully be done by the end of the month, and then we would roll into the court surface.
So people should have disruptions of service there soon, or something?
Yeah, so my sense is the lighting isn't going to take very long, because it's a scissor lift and swapping out things at the top, so that would not be, my guess is we would block off reservations for a day or two, whereas once the project really kicks up and we have a start date, we would post it similar to what we do on all of our construction projects.
Any final agenda items or requests?
Yeah, we'd have a report from our subcommittee, maybe next month. Initial report, not a final, but.
Initial draft.
Yeah.
So on this, similar to the
It'll just be an ongoing.
an
standing
ongoing
item.
thing, so it could be more dynamic if you have something and we're not tied by the timing. So I think we'll always have it on the agenda.
So that's a good push for us to get started this month then. All right, well then, thanks for a great April meeting, and see you, this adjourns our meeting right at 9 o'clock, and see you all next month,
Or not.
or not.
Thanks, bye.
Yeah.